Everyone were jumping on their feet with excitement to see Zone 2 first time in their life. And since Zone 1 and 2 were separated by only a thin wire, they could easily cross it. When Lily saw Zone 2 for the first time, she suddenly remembered her dream. In her dream, the forest was also as dense as this one. Although she was not 100% sure on this, she didn't give it much of a thought and started celebrating with others. Being the leader of the group, Brun felt a sense of accomplishment and ordered everyone to rest for an hour or more. As per him, the time for celebration was over, as now they will be venturing in an unknown territory whom no adult had ever seen, let alone kids. After an hour and a half of taking nap, all of them were now ready. Seeing everyone's excitement, Brun thought it might be better to have some snacks before crossing the wire. Everyone obeyed Brun's orders, had used another 10% of their total ration. It was now time for what everyone had been waiting for. Brun, being the leader, asked Lily to crawl beneath the wire, be the first one to cross the border. Since all of this was Lily's idea in the first place, so he wanted her to be the first one in the group to go there. After Lily, the other kids followed and crossed the wire, and in about 5 minutes, everyone was on the other side. The feeling was unreal, but also there was a sense of danger as well, since this territory was unexplored and unknown to the kids. Since Zone 2 was much more denser than Zone 1, Brun ordered everyone to pick up their sharp-pointed sticks, which all of them were carrying on their back. Everyone obliged and started following Brun. Within 1 minute of walking in a straight line, all of them except Brun were trembling in fear. Zone 2 was much denser on the inside, with wild pointed grass and tall trees covering the sky. The entire forest was receiving only 40% of the total sunlight, even when the sun was at its peak. One can only imagine how dark it would get once the sun sets. Within 1 minute of being in Zone 2, the first wild predator animal that they saw was a 4-foot venomous snake. It had black skin with white strips. Brun had studied about ecology in his school and remembered studying about this snake. He instructed everyone that they move away from the snake and slowly start moving forward without alarming it. They continued walking while trembling in fear. Fear started to delve inside them as soon as they set foot inside the forest. After around 30 minutes of walking, they all found a good place camp and discussed their next plan of action. Camp preparation was already made by the kids before setting out on the adventure, since some kids among the group used to camp with their parents in Zone 1, so setting up a camp was no big deal for them. Zone 2 being a very dense forest, or one can say what an actual forest should look like, one can find all kinds of supplies around them. Supplies like dried wood suitable for lighting fire, etc. After the camp was set, which was like 3 big tents, where all kids can take shelter, and in between the 3 tents, they had a small fireplace set up as well. The entire setup took them only 2 hours. One can only imagine how trained these kids would be for these kinds of survival situations. They all sat around the fire pit to discuss their next course of action. Although it was around 3 p.m., but due to less sunlight within the forest itself, it would be best to have a fire camp. It also helps to keep wild animals away. Now all of them looked at Lily, because originally it was her idea and convincing power that led everyone in their group to break the most important rule in their town. That is going in Zone 2. Lily understood that Brun's task was only to lead them and cross Zone 1, but now everything was dependent on Lily. Well, one may ask how Lily was able to get all 9 other kids ready for such a trip. It all started with what Lily learned and saw inside the mansion. She haven't told anyone what she saw inside the mansion, but instead told them that there was something very interesting happening in Zone 2 and 3 that they have to go and see. She also told them that she had went inside the mansion that no one had ever been to, and what she saw inside she would only discuss once they get to Zone 2. At that time, when Lily was convincing everyone, her voice and facial expression instilled a sense of adventure and curiosity of what everyone in the town are missing out. So, they all trusted Lily and set out on an adventure of a lifetime. Well, now it was Lily's time to talk and keep her promise. Everyone had risked so much to get to Zone 2 that now they all deserved to know the entire story. Lily took out her water bottle, took a big sip of water before starting to talk. She knew better to drink water first, as once she starts talking, she will have to continue her speech for at least an hour or even more. Everyone knew till the part that Lily had found a strange-looking key in Zone 1 which had a pulsating beat. Looking for a door, she had went inside the mansion, where she had found a rusty old book hidden with secrets. They also knew about her dream as well with the wild beast. She immediately picked it up and eagerly Lily flipped through the pages of the journal, her heart racing as she reads the tales of adventure and mystery penned by the mansion's long-forgotten owner. With each turn of the page, she felt as though she was unraveling the secrets of the past, piecing together a story that had long been lost to time. The story began 100 years from now with a man who was living alone inside this mansion. He was a very wealthy trader who had this mansion built for himself. He always wondered what was out there in Zone 2 and 3 and why since the beginning people of this town have such a strange restriction of not visiting the other part of the forest. Along with being a wealthy trader, his other hobby was to travel to unknown locations. One fine day, he decided to sneak out inside Zone 1 and travel all the way to Zone 2 and 3. He had gathered all necessary supplies for him, and one day at 3 a.m. he set out. Once he crossed Zone 1 and entered Zone 2, he was mesmerized with the sheer beauty of the forest. There were all different kinds of animals and plants. Such a diverse variety he had never seen in this life. Since his mansion was at a separate place from the other houses in the town, he knew that no one would notice for a week that he was missing. Taking this advantage, he traveled Zone 2 for 2 days, getting to know the forest as a whole. For straight 2 days, he jotted everything on a journal that he was carrying with him. It included all his encounters with wild animals in Zone 2 and what kind of rare medicinal plants he had seen over there. The information that he was carrying inside his journal was like liquid gold. Although he was very amazed by the beauty of Zone 2, he still didn't understand as to why there was a restriction on Zone 2 traveling. Everything seemed perfectly fine to him. Then on the 3rd day, something strange happened. As he was walking along a small creek, he saw a winged horse glowing with a certain aura. It took him 5 minutes to understand that he was not high as usual, but it was a sight to behold. He had only read this in fantasy books that such creatures exist, but in real life, he had never heard anyone seeing or finding such a rare animal. Since there were no handy camera in those days, so he took 30 minutes to draw the horse on his journal exactly like how he saw it. He slowly moved closer to the horse, not too close, otherwise the animal may notice and run away. As he moved closer and closer, he noticed that there were many more such horses, kind of a family of them. All of them were pulsating with a strange aura and had wings. Although the wings were not big enough to fly, but could be used to make the horse run faster. As days passed, he studied the horses carefully and noticed that they behaved similar to any other herbivorous animals or like other horses. He still could not figure out how these horses were born or from where they came from, but all he could notice was the strange glowing aura that all these strange creatures were pulsating. Then one day he had decided to finally get near the horses and try taming them. After several failed attempts, he was finally able to get acquainted with one horse.